Yo, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Oh, well, it's lucky that you guys say that because this video is sponsored by Blue Apron. If you guys check out the link in the description, you will get your first 3 meals totally for free straight from Blue Apron.
Wow.
Hey guys, this is Austin. This is the Moto E4 Plus, and it might just be all the smartphone you need. What makes this phone impressive is that not only does it have solid specs for less than $200, but what's really cool about it is that this guy is rocking a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. The Moto E has been one of my favorite budget phones for a long time, but the E4 Plus promises to step it up in a big way. Now, part of the reason it does that is that it's now rocking a full metal build. Inside the box, there's not a lot. So we get a micro USB cable as well as the 10-watt power adapter, which actually does support quick charge, meaning that even though you have a giant battery, it actually should be able to charge pretty quickly. Pull off the metal back, and not only will you see the SIM card slot as well as your micro SD, but also that giant 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, I think it's easy to kind of hear a spec like that and not realize, but this is an enormous battery for any phone, but especially something like this which has such power-sipping internals. What I really like about the Moto E4 Plus is that it doesn't really feel like you're giving up much versus a bigger and more expensive flagship. I mean, this guy is rocking a 5.5-inch display, it's got that huge battery, the metal build, you've got a fingerprint sensor, and this all is in a phone that costs $180. The fingerprint sensor is a great example of a feature that you usually don't find on budget phones. So with the Moto E4, it's actually the standard Moto one, so if you tap and hold, it will lock the phone, tap it and it will quickly unlock, and you can even use this for gestures. Now, to be fair, it's not all cutting edge, so this guy's rocking a micro USB port instead of USB-C, although I feel like that's not really a big deal for most people, and amazingly enough, it is rocking a full headphone jack, which is sadly becoming more and more rare for phones in 2017. Spec-wise, you're not really giving up much either. So the Moto E4 is rocking a quad-core Snapdragon 427 processor, 2 GB of memory, and either 16 or 32 gigs of storage, and of course you can expand that with the micro SD card slot. It might not be the most powerful phone in the world, but it is totally fine for normal usage. And when you take a look at the performance inside Geekbench, it's pretty much on par with a lot of the more expensive phones such as the Moto G. It's one thing to look at benchmarks, but it's another thing to actually use the phone in the real world, where it feels pretty snappy. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that this is running stock Android, which makes everything just a little bit better as far as the optimization side of things go, but multitasking is totally fine. And what you're getting here is something that for most people is going to feel very, very similar to a much more expensive phone. It's also fully up to date on Android 7.1.1 Nougat, and that's one of the nice things about Motorola phones. Typically speaking, they do a pretty good job of keeping them up to date, which is definitely not something I can say about a lot of other budget phones. Now, this guy does come fully unlocked, which is fairly standard for a lot of the Amazon Prime phones. But what is cool about this guy is that not only does it support LTE, but also dual band Wi-Fi. Now yes, I'm going to take a hard turn into Nerd Town right now, but dual band Wi-Fi is something that I find should be on a lot more devices. It makes it a lot more reliable. If you have a fast internet connection, it makes it a lot faster. Now this is one of Amazon's Prime exclusive phones, and because of that you have a lot of different options. So the base model is going to run you $180 with 16 gigs of storage, and you can bump that up to 32 gigs of storage for $200. Now, if you don't care about the Amazon lock screen ads that come with it, you actually can save $40 on both models, which may or may not be worth it depending on how you feel about that stuff. The E4 Plus is rocking a 5.5-inch 720p screen. Now, it might not be the sharpest display in the world, I think it's going to be totally fine for most people, and importantly, not only is the color fairly accurate, but it also gets very bright. For the camera, the Moto E4 Plus is rocking a 13 megapixel shooter. This doesn't look bad, so color seems reasonable. I don't think it's the sharpest thing I've seen, but there actually is a fair bit of depth of field. HDR actually looks pretty good here. Even though there's a lot of contrast in this picture, it's actually able to keep a lot of the detail.
Oh no, you can't show that, I'm sorry. That's showing off certain secrets.
The Moto E4 also has 1080p video, and as you can see from this super smooth shot of Mr. Kimbolito, it's actually not too bad. I feel like this is a trend with this phone. Maybe it's not the greatest camera or the greatest build quality or the greatest screen, but put together for $180, it is really hard to complain. While the Moto E4 isn't totally waterproof, it is supposed to be at least somewhat water resistant. All right, here it goes. Will the Moto E4 survive? It probably will, I think so. Yep, that looks like it works. One water test later, I am really impressed with the Moto E4 Plus. Now yes, you can spend a lot more to get a smartphone that's going to be a bit better in certain areas, but taken as a whole, there's really not a lot to complain about. So as always, I'll have a link to check this guy in the description, and I've got to give a big shout out to Blue Apron for sponsoring this video. Blue Apron provides everything you need to cook a delicious meal right at home, and it's all inside this box. Blue Apron offers a large selection of recipes and is always adding new dishes to their menu every week, and they ship to most of the country. There's no commitment, you can skip or cancel the service at any time, and shipping is always free. So even though this ships in a box to your house, it is nicely cooled, and there is a lot in here. So the first step is, what should we actually cook since we have 3 full meals here? You wanna do the salmon? So we have our salmon fillets, scallions, jasmine rice, bell pepper, green beans, cilantro, garlic, and lemongrass. And I actually don't think it looks too bad. Ken, would you like the first try?
Not bad.
Not bad? I'll take not bad.
Not bad.
Yo! I think I actually cooked something. Mom will be so proud. So if you guys want to try Blue Apron for yourselves, the link is in the description, and the first 300 people who sign up will get 3 free meals. So what did you guys think about this first episode of Austin Cooks Stuff? I actually think it went better than I was expecting. Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next one.